Well, hello, internet friends near and far. Welcome to another episode of Parks and Conversation. This is a podcast where we talk about an episode of Parks and Recreation. And by we, I mean myself, Jason, and I'm joined across town by the power of the internet, my friend Jeremy. Say hello, Jeremy.
Hey, how is it going?
It is going very well. Today's weather is cold but dry. Rain should come in over the evening and be rainy throughout the weekend.
Yeah,
And a
same
warm
here.
front coming in the next week. So same
All
here.
right.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, we're not that far away from each other, so
No, no.
it does help. Yeah. So, but today's also a half day, and this is super fun as we
For
are
for
recording.
school. I
Yeah,
mean,
for
there's still 20.
school.
It's not like a 12-hour day.
Wouldn't that be rad?
That
If
would be
like
very confusing.
it would be, but like do you have like leap seconds? What if we just had like a leap afternoon, and it was like, no, time for bed,
Yeah.
go to bed.
Everybody take a nap. I'm in.
Oh
I'm
man,
in. Who's in? They can't stop us all.
yeah, that would really mess up like everybody's rhythm, though. Like to go through all of like people are complaining now. It's like, oh, it's too dark in the evening. It's like, well, it's gonna get weirder. So just stop complaining. Anyway, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited for the debate.
Yes, this is a episode that is very full of a lot of Pawneeans, which I appreciate. And as we are walking through this episode, and listener over the past few episodes, we've been doing A plot, B plot, C plot, but these plots in today's episode, they all are so interrelated that we're just gonna go through it because it's kind of like it's all happening in real time, and
Hmm.
they're all responding to each other. And so yeah, so let's just jump to it. Episode 20 of season 4, the debate, and it
Written.
opens.
Oh, so I was just going to say real quick. This is written and directed by Leslie Knope,
Oh wow,
also
well, good.
known as
As Amy
Amy
Poehler.
Poehler. Yeah. Which she got a Emmy nomination for this episode.
For this episode. Well, good for her.
Yeah,
Good for her.
but she
So
lost.
proud of
So
her. Well,
whatever.
never mind then. I don't want to rub it in. I wonder who beat her.
Oh, it was somebody
Who
else that's been on Parks and Recreation.
who's that?
It was a guest star. He doesn't really have a show anymore. He got canceled. Yeah, Louis C.K. won in
Oh,
2012
for his show Louis.
for his show Louis, for an episode of Louis.
Hmm. Okay.
So yeah,
Interesting.
all right, there you go.
Interesting.
There's your trivia right off the bat.
Do you know? They never give us like the second place in those award shows. You know?
Everybody's in second place
Well,
because
no, but
second
they
place.
actually vote. People actually vote on these things.
That's true.
So, like in theory, right? Like Lance Armstrong, what he had all of his Tour de France wins taken away from him.
Hmm.
So technically, the person who got second got if they also did not get all their uh, winnings taken away from them because of cheating,
Right.
they would become the winners of that year,
So
right?
whoever came in 43rd is the
Right,
winner. The guy,
exactly.
yeah.
Giuseppe Valverde. So
They do that in the Olympics, though. If somebody
yeah,
gets disqualified, they send them. They're like, "Oh, you get a gold medal now."
right. And so like with Louis' whole problems, right? Uh, could they go back and say, we are going to take away your Emmy win for your reprobate behavior, and we're going to give it to who got second place?
I think if they cared enough, maybe, but I don't think they care.
Wait a minute. You mean
Whoever
you
they
mean
are.
entertainment? The entertainment industry doesn't actually hold to a high standard about the treatment of people? No, no.
No. Oh, that's yeah, rhetorical. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
don't think so.
Interesting. Interesting. If they did, they'd tell us who got second place.
There you go. It's the circle of life.
Yeah. So, speaking of the circle of life, this episode starts at Andy and April's house where so much stuff happens. And there has nothing to do with the circle of life. But they are going through the prep work and plan for who's doing what during the debate. All right. And it starts with Ben talking about how they're gaining, and the debate is their chance to close the gap. And so Chris, Ann, and Tom are going to be on the spin team, which Ann and Chris are super excited about because Chris believes this is the best job he could ever have. If he was given bad news, he'd want to hear it from himself, because he thinks he can give good news. And And Tom is kind of bummed by this because we come to find out that Tom and Anne broke up for real this time. And Chris and Anne are super excited to be together, and Tom is not excited that they're all together. And then Andy and April are going to host a party for the donors at their house, which is I find hilarious because their house is not nice,
Mm-mm.
right? And Andy points this out when he's like, I can't believe our house is going to be full of rich people named Dottie and Todd and Rick." And like those
That's rich
those are
people
not
names.
rich people names. It sounds like Dottie and Todd and Rick. and uh and so they and Ron is going to provide some ribs, and April is going to provide lap dances. And Leslie says, "No, that's not okay." And so elections in 2 weeks, debates in 9 hours, and so it's time to party. And so this is a cold open that like basically tells you exactly what's going to happen in the show, which is rare. But this
There-
is one of those times.
There's just too much. They got to get going.
Yeah, there's too many gun distribution ideas in this episode. We don't want to cut any of those out. And
Right.
so, um, yeah, so they go to the next scene is Leslie and Ben in the auditorium where the debate's going to happen, and they talk about how big the place is. Now, Jeremy, have you seen Hoosiers?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So there's a Hoosiers homage here in
Yes.
this, where like they go into the stadium and it's like it's overwhelming. It's the championship game. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! And Gene Hackman's character, Coach, he measures the rim, and it's like it's 10 feet, just like back home. And the court is all the same dynamics, all the same sizes. Everything is the same. And so when Ben is measuring the podium, which is such a dumb thing to do. Measures the podium is like 4 feet. It's exact same as what you use in the Parks Department. It's like this is just one more public presentation, and you've been doing tons of these,
Well, it's yeah. He just wants to let her know it's a regulation size podium.
right? Yeah, for podium competition.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, which is I think it's interesting though that Ben is the way he's talking about this is you are you do this all the time. And Ben's really first impression, like big impression of Leslie was when she had the flu and she gave just an amazing presentation to the Chamber of Commerce or the
Right.
Chamber of Secrets, as she called it, because and like even though she had the flu, she nailed it, and so that's when Ben was like, comparing her to Michael Jordan, so I think it's just interesting that here again he's like saying like this is how you operate. This is your arena. It's not Bobby's. Um, and even then, she says I could uh, he says you could debate Newport in your sleep, and she's like, I have, and he's like, I know, we sleep in the same bed. It's been hell. So, um, yeah, and so um, they also go over her opening line in this station in this point where it's essentially saying like, I love this town, and I'll do everything I can for your vote. Bobby thinks he can buy your vote,
Mm-hmm.
which is the big contrast here, which is good. It's a good opening line. Let's see how it works. Um, and
That sounds ominous.
It is a little ominous. But then they also get really gross about what they're going to do with Bobby. As they talk about Ben talks about ripping his spine out and chewing it up and gargling with it. And
They went
it's,
total like Mortal Kombat.
yeah, finish him. Fatality. Man, that game, that was a lot of summers in my youth. I sucked so bad at that game. So I've seen all of the fatality moves done to me.
It happens.
I'm
Yeah,
still
that's what you just got to get into one character. The secret is you just find one character to get really good at, and then just annoy your friends with
no,
that one move that they can't beat.
I can never remember the moves. I've tried this. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just really nail Sub-Zero. I'm gonna figure out Sub-Zero. And I'm terrible. I can never get all of the arrow keys and the letter keys all lined up at the same time. I just die. So it ends up me just pushing all the buttons as
Mm-hmm.
fast as I can.
There you go.
So that's my strategy.
Button masher. I like it.
So Scorpion was probably the best character. And I'd fight somebody over it.
And lose. I mean,
I would lose badly. So then it cuts to April's trying to clean the house and how she can't because her arms don't move that way, which had some strong echoes of my house. Um, and and Tom is just like, "What? Who cares? Nothing matters. Life's garbage." Because Anne broke up with him, and then it cuts to like why, and he called in to give her a shout out to a radio station, but talks about how they're like dancing and how hot she is, and then tells the radio, everybody listening to the radio, to go look her up. Her name's Ann Perkins. Look her up on the government website. And so Anne breaks up with him because he is terrible. So April's like, you got to stop doing all the swagger and everything. You just got to tell her how you feel. And he's not really down with that because Tom doesn't know how to have actual feelings. Um, and then cut back to Ben and Chris and Anne in the spin zone. And this is one of the best spins. Ben says, Leslie tried to answer a question and audibly farted, then threw up. Spin. And Chris' response, Leslie Nope is literally overflowing with ideas for this town. And speaking of methane, have you heard about her plan to limit greenhouse gas emissions? Which is so good. And Anne is excited there about his response, and he says, "It's silly that we're not a team in real life. I just heard those words come out of my mouth, and I have made a decision." And he's gonna try to win Anne back.
Yeah, it's like his relationship program just kicked in.
Right, the robot.
Yeah,
Pursue a relationship with Anne. So
the microchip has been enacted,
yes, uh,
activated.
I don't know. I'm not a programmer. Um, and so then he goes and talks to Anne, like, "Hey, I heard you broke up with Tom, and I would be interested essentially in getting back to our relationship." And Anne says, "We can't because of the rule. You're my boss." And then Chris points out, like, Newport wins. I probably won't have this job. So we'll see. Don't answer. Just think about it. And then cut back to what?
No, just this next part is very
Oh,
funny.
cut back to the office or into the house headquarters. And somebody asks, "Do you like investing?" And Andy is like, "Yeah, we dabble. I recently invested in some t-shirts I bought from a garage sale. I left them at Wendy's." So the
The
economy.
economy. We dabble. We dabble.
So the economy. Yeah. So
In
Ron
this
then
in this climate, in any climate.
we're gonna be global. Ron gives a speech, one of the best speeches of all time. Ron, Jeremy, your name is Jeremy.
Yeah.
Do you have the script in front of you?
I do.
Can you give us your best Ron Swanson for this speech?
Hello. You are here because you gave us money. Now we will give you ribs. Also, you will watch the debate. If you like the debate, you'll also give us money. That is all. Ron Swanson.
I love how he ends his speech.
Ron
Ron
Swanson.
Swanson. Like, I need to write a letter.
Right? There's no best wishes. There's no like that is all.
There's no thank you. Nothing.
I want to end all my emails that way from now on. And not best. It's just that is all.
Yes. I was listening to a podcast where somebody was talking about how they have an attitude in their email. And it's if they sign off with "please advise," it's like, ooh, that's bad news.
Ooh, yeah.
That is all, Ron Swanson. You should just sign it off with "that is all, Ron Swanson." And then they turn on the debate, and he's like, "Ha, somebody forgot to pay the cable bill." Am I right?
Am I right?
It was me. Because the cable doesn't work. All these people came to watch the debate, and yeah, now they can't. So
Which sets up. Sorry, I mean I know it's spoilers, but it's just like if you haven't seen this episode before, you're like, oh, cable, and but it sets up one of just the most ridiculous like time wasters ever, and they absolutely nail it. So yeah,
yeah, I'm hoping we're not spoiling anything for anybody by this point. So, I mean, this is a review.
it's only 9
So
years.
yeah,
It's fine.
so they cut to the conference center or wherever they're doing this thing, and Leslie's getting pumped up, and you can hear her talking about it being fierce and power, pump it up, nope, 2012, all this stuff. And then she takes her headphones off, and you can hear that it's "I Will Remember You" by Sarah McLachlan. And like nothing pumps me up more than Sarah McLachlan.
If anything, it
Um,
makes me just depressed and want to like go adopt a pet or something.
yeah. I have one of her albums.
Mhm.
It was during a time where I was like, I don't know what kind of music I like
Are you
anymore.
are you okay?
Well, it's a long time ago. I know what kind of music I like now.
That's good.
But I really didn't know like what I've only listened to one kind of thing. What do I like? And so I was buying all kinds of albums. And I'm not gonna lie, I was sitting in my office on my cubicle at Safeco Insurance, listening to I don't even know the name of the album, but I uh I was crying as I was doing my data entry. I was like, this is so beautiful.
He somebody walks by, he just loves numbers.
Yeah, man, he just loves payroll. I do not. So, yeah, so they she's getting pumped up to Sarah McLachlan, and Ben is like, let's do this. You got this. And let's like, I have the best campaign manager, and he's like, no, Jen's a killer. I don't know. You can beat Bobby, but I don't know if I can beat her, which is important because Jen recognizes how good Ben is at his job, which will come into next season. And so they go out to the stadium or auditorium, and Leslie's coming out to Miss Yermley. What's her name? Denise Yermley, as she is singing the Star Spangled Banner, and really, really going for it. And several times in her vocal uh, climbs and descends, like Leslie thinks that she's done, but no, Denise Yermley will not be stopped, and so she continues to go. Um, and then Jen and Ben are talking, and Ben's like, Bobby looks nervous, and Jen's like, he'll be fine. Expectations are so low that he can't, if he can get through together without crying, person's gonna say he's doing well. And if he falls to pieces, he's gonna look sympathetic. Win-win. So yeah, so Jen knows.
Fumbling towards ecstasy.
Fumbling toward ecstasy.
Yeah, that's the album that you own.
No, no, it's not.
Oh, there's a
It's
different album?
There's multiple albums. It has a black and white cover.
I'm just saying that's the one that's got I Will Remember You on it.
I know. I'm just saying, like, she has a lot of beautiful songs.
Okay. All right. Never mind. Continue.
Yeah, so
There's a lot of crying in that cubicle.
so the moderators of the debate are Perd Hapley and Joan Calamezzo. And Perd is perding it up, and Joan is newly single.
Legendary newswoman Joan Callison. Self-proclaimed legendary.
Yes, newly single. And so they start to go through the different opening statements, and Fester Trim is played by Brad Leland, who you may know from Friday Night Lights, and
Buddy.
yeah, Buddy from Friday Night Lights. And he's like, you may know me as the man who sells you your guns at the Gun Believable Gun Emporium.
Woo!
I want to tell you about my idea for assault rifle vending machines. The next one is
which at this point, that's it's pretty farcical 9 years ago. Now,
yeah, maybe not
maybe.
too far fetched. And so they're just cutting through these things really fast. Like, I would love to hear the rest of his opening statement.
Right.
And then Brandy Max is like, you may be thinking, what does an adult film star know about politics? Well, I've produced and starred in over 400 adult films this year alone. Same
Woo!
guy, same guy.
Same guy.
Woo! And then the next
Thank
one,
you.
the next one is Manrico de la Rosa, and he believes animals are important as people, and if elected, I will fight for them as if they are my own children. And and then Leslie talks about how she loves the town. She believes she's earned your vote. Bobby Newport believes he can buy it. Maybe that's because he's never earned anything in his entire life. She's going right on the attack. And Bobby just responds by saying, that hurt my feelings. And you're supposed to be a positive person. Can't we all just talk about things we like? And Joan says, well said.
and everyone starts clapping.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And it's like, we need to have the candidates keep it civil. Looking at you, Leslie. And then he gives his opening statement, essentially, basically, I want to show the city of Pawnee and my dad what I'm made of. So let's do this. And then the wrecking crew are cheering from the front row. His like frat friends, like, who let you guys in? Hey,
Hey,
Jason.
hey, Jason.
So, oh man, and that use of the name Jason is in like the douche world. Like I was offended by that. Hey, Jason. Like, no. Come on. And
That's all right. There's a was a Saturday Night Live skit the other day, and they're like, "Oh, somebody with a J name. No, thank you." Anyway,
yes. Yeah, so Ben is on the back going like, he's back, he's back. So they start doing questions, and the first one comes from Twitter, as Joan says, because apparently that's something that happens now, and it happens more and more and more in the debates, which is annoying. And the first one comes from at Munchmeat 2015, asks, Pawnee used to be safe. Someone stole my car. What will you do to make Pawnee safe? And can you help me find my car? And Fester's solution is have a gun mounted to your dashboard, which automatically shot people trying to break into it.
and people
Um,
clap.
yeah, and people are like, yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
idea. You'd still have your car. And Bobby's point is like, that stinks that happened to you. Somebody once stole skis from my Jeep. And I was so mad I punched a mailbox.
This has nothing to do with the show, but this is an amazing story that I heard about a lady in Portland who had a Honda Civic that had been stolen like a dozen times, and she used to leave a note in it that said, "If you steal this car, please just park it back somewhere near this block so I can get to work."
Wow.
That's that's all.
And did it work?
Yeah, yeah, it did. It did. Yeah, and one time she actually came back to her stolen car and there was more gas in it than she left it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
Someone's like, I really need this right now.
yeah.
I'm not poor or anything. I just I need I need a
Community
ride.
community car.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's Uber without the driver.
yeah.
Which is probably the best way to go. And Bobby sums up his story by saying, I'm against crime. I'm not ashamed to admit it. And everybody claps at that as well. Cut to headquarters for campaign headquarters, and April's like, we got to do something. Ron, can you help? And he's like, I don't know anything. And he's just acting out scenes from his favorite movies. And the
Yes.
first one is is Roadhouse, which is pretty amazing the way he acts it all out, and can't even get into it. You just have to watch it, and because he's
Just the opening line is so Swayze runs, boom,
boom,
right,
tackles the guy off the motorcycle.
and he's using people in the audience,
Yeah,
the donor audience, so he's got him in a headlock. Anyway,
yeah. And the beautiful thing about Andy's reenactments is like he is starting, and it seems like people are just like, I can't believe this is happening right now. Like Todd is in the back row, uh, just like rolling his eyes essentially at what's happening right now. But as it continues, people get more and more into it, which I
I
love.
love, I love the part where he goes and he takes the esophagus out of the neck area. You can't eat; you'll starve to death. He died of complications of esophagus removal.
And that is Roadhouse.
That is Roadhouse.
What should I do next?
What would be your go-to? What's the movie that you know so well that you could reenact? You would be confident. I know you're confident reenacting anything, but like you would just be like, I can take you through this whole tight 90-minute movie.
It would either be Tommy Boy or Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, nice, good choice.
I could do either of those. Like, just yes, if you said, "Tell me about halfway through Dumb and Dumber, what's happening?" I could probably just go, "Oh, that's probably where." I think it's probably Jim Carrey, dreaming while driving about the party that he's having with Mary, and so, and the kung fu fight in the restaurant pulls his heart out. You can't live that way,
You'll
so
die. You'll
you'll
die.
die.
Yeah.
What's your movie?
Yeah. I was gonna say Dumb and Dumber or probably Caddyshack. It's probably the two
Yes,
movies I've watched the most. And it's funny that ours are both comedies versus Andy's are all action flicks. So
yeah. Well, I think that speaks to we don't want to do great harm to people.
yeah,
Andy's got an inner rage.
I'm against violence, and I'm not afraid to admit it.
Yeah. So they go back to the debate, and Joan asks another question about Pawnee park system. And the question is, why is Ramsett Park so filthy and awful?
I love it, like Leslie's when she starts to ask the question. Leslie's like, "Yes, the parks, pride, crown
Yeah.
jewel of Pawnee."
Right. And this is a challenge for people who work in government because Joan is asking an emotional question and Leslie is responding with a policy response,
Hmm.
which is a terrible way to respond to emotions. And they do a good job of highlighting that because, like, she's talking, it's really complicated. And it's like, no, we feel bad about this. It's not that complicated. And Purd it jumps in to talk about an update on her time allotment, and that update is that your time is almost gone. And Leslie, I have no time left. Well, when you had some time when I started talking, but by the time I finished, your time was up. Thank you very much. So Purd is the best. And then Joan turns to Newport and makes a rebuttal. And his response is, if something is dirty, we should clean it up. And then he gives this story about Yolanda, who was very wise and told him that she's not going to clean his room no mas. And he's like, that really bummed me out. I think we should clean up the parks like my room after Yolanda finally, gave in and cleaned it up for me. And Leslie responds basically saying, like, look, we don't all have Yolandas who can clean up our room. Some of us believe that you need to roll up your sleeves and do the hard work yourself. And she gets
Yeah,
applause for this because this is what people want to hear. And Brandy jumps in and says, yes, I agree. Leslie and I are basically the same. And if you watch what they're wearing, it is almost exactly the same.
yes,
Um, and she's like, we do all of our work ourselves. And Leslie's like, I don't want to be associated with your work.
yeah.
And again, Joan points out, once again, Brandy and Leslie are essentially the same person. And then it cuts to the spin room where Tom is like totally slouched over, like giving over essentially to how terrible his life is. And points out, like, uh, you know, Bobby Newport is handsome and charming, which means people will vote for him because there's no justice in the world. And they're asked, like, the reporter, whose name I looked it up, is Eugene Pilgrim Pillow Grimaldi. Eugene Pillow Grimaldi is the character's name. And asking, like, what do you say about Bobby saying we need to clean parks up? And Chris is like, Leslie works tirelessly to do this all the time, and points out 78% of Pawneans label our parks as pristine. And Tom just says, you know what? We all know the better looking park is, the more attention it will get from lady parks who want to have sex with him.
I don't
And
think he's talking about parks.
I think that's subtext. And so Anne, like, takes him out and is like, "What is your problem?" And Tom's like, We just broke up, and you're already like getting together with Chris." And he's like, "I saw you guys getting back together, and what about us?" And Anne's like, "There is no us because you keep acting a fool." And Tom's like, "Well, I'm sorry. I get nervous." And so they're like, "We just need to get together." And Tom's like, "Please vote for me to be your boyfriend." Um, and then they cut to the auditorium, and they're on a break. And Leslie's like, "He's winning. How is he winning?" And Ben's like, "You're doing fine." And she's like, "No, I need to go on the attack." And Ben's like, "No, when you came off, you looked like a bully. So you're doing a really good job easing off."
But they and
Um,
they point out the fact that like everything he's saying is nonsense, and he's fooling them.
right.
Like, yeah, like nothing he's saying has any substance,
Huh. That
and
sounds
everyone's
so familiar.
just lapping it up.
That sounds like something that happened about 4 years after this was on television. Anyway, I didn't realize that Parks and Rec was so prophetic.
Yeah,
But yeah. And while they're talking, Bobby is drinking out of a juice box. Like
like a
that Jen is
boxer, like
holding.
a right,
Yeah,
like a boxer in the corner.
Jen is holding the juice box for him, and he's drinking out of it. And like they're like, I can't believe he's winning this thing. And then he cuts to him like saying, like, Leslie, this is fun, isn't it? And so they come back into the debate, and Fester
This is
opens, and
like
he
this is like the next part is just a montage of answers to questions. Like I love this kind of format for jokes because we have to infer what the actual question was.
right, right, which is very fun. And we should just read these.
Sure.
How about we go every other?
I'm
Okay, so I'll start with Fester, and then Okay.
Go
So,
for it.
all right. Well, there's no reason on earth that I can think of that we shouldn't have concussion grenades in our nation's movie theaters.
By the year 2013, we'll have a fully functional mall on Jupiter.
That was just 1 year after this aired. uh, sure, I agree that movies should be more faithful to the books that they are based on, but what does that have to do with this election?
All my movies are based on books.
And anyone who even rubs their hands on a leather jacket should be tried for murder.
I'm an American. My father is an American. My mother is an American. My godfather is the viceroy of the Principality of Liechtenstein.
Once again, people, grenade launcher.
Daniel Craig. No, Timothy Dalton.
I was in favor of closing the border's bookstore, not the border to Mexico.
I guess my thoughts on abortion, let's all just have a good time.
I don't care about that issue. Ask someone else.
For the record, I'd appear in a film with any of my fellow candidates.
And she stares at Leslie,
Yeah.
and then it cuts to Bobby going, "Oh,
Oh,
okay."
how kind of you.
Anteaters,
Kill shot.
money shot.
Fudgesicles.
Let's spend our money on what matters: police, fire, parks, and schools. And that's the kind, like all of those different responses to whatever the questions are.
Right. Fudgesicles.
Fudgesicles. Yeah, and so Jen points out like she's doing better. And Ben's like, she's doing better than okay. Or did you miss the applause she got on the raccoon safety question?
At least they're addressing it, finally.
The raccoon safety question, which is probably something Bobby's never had to worry about in
Nope.
his Sweetums Palace.
Got the
So
raccoon guy.
yeah, Yolando was also the raccoon wrangler. So yeah, so Ben's like, "We're doing great. Why are you so casual?" And Jen's like, "Well, we got an ace in the hole, a little surprisey wisey." And so uh, then she asks about Chris, like, "Hey, does he have a girlfriend?" And Ben's like, "Just stop talking." It cuts back to headquarters, and Andy is like, "You guys know anything about a guy named John Rambo?" And it opens up with Rambo and him going through the story of John Rambo. And Ron goes out. It cuts to him going out and climbing the telephone pole. And he's like, after I steal this cable feed, I will repay the cable company for the service we used. And so he's that's how he's going to solve this problem, by turning the cable back on, essentially. And so Joan asks another question uh, for Bobby. Some, not me, have criticized your involvement with your father's candy company, Sweetums. Would your affiliation with big business affect your decision as a city councilor? And he says, "Look, I think we should run this town like a business. Leslie Knope is very anti-business. My dad said if she wins the election, they'll probably have to move Sweetums to Mexico. That would be terrible, of course. Thousands of people in this town would lose their jobs, and we wouldn't have any candy." Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I do know this: if I win, I bet I could get them to stay. And Bird's like, "Wow, shocking stuff." We're going to be back with our closing statements right after a word from our sponsor, Sweetums, Pawnee's biggest supplier of candy and jobs.
Wah, wah.
And so then it cuts to Ben and Leslie talking like, "Man, I can't believe he's going to do this. They're going to move to Mexico if Bobby doesn't win. And this is a crappy stunt to pull." And she's like, "I got to attack him." And he's more confident, "I have to attack him." And Ben's like, "No, no, no, no. Let's just deal with damage control later." And then she's like, "No, I've got a plan. I know how to do this." And so he's like, "Okay, go for it. Do it." And then it cuts to Ron working on the thing, singing a Wichita lineman song about fixing telephone lines, is what the song's about.
The
And
best part of that is there's a police siren in the background, and he just grabs the pole, looking like he's gonna get caught.
well, yeah, he's like trying to hide, like
Hide.
Splinter Cell style, which is one of the best games.
Agreed.
There's no like punch combinations or anything. No fatality moves. Like, it's just about go slow, dude. Go slow.
Yeah.
Which is basically how I try to play every video game. If I go too fast, I'll fall off the edge. So this one's like, no, just go slow.
I'm just gonna go hide in a box.
Yeah, I'm gonna hide in a box all night, and I'll come back in the morning. Those people will be asleep. So, yeah. So, final comments. And Bobby's is like, How do we fix this town? I have no idea. You tell me. That's what I'm counting on. You tell me. And then it cuts back to headquarters, and Andy's like, that's how it ends. I loved it. It's called Babe. And I know it sounds corny, talking pig, whatever. You should see it. And Donna, crying, says, I feel like I just did. And then the TV's back on right in time, right on time. Like, wow, what amazing providence here that right when Leslie's going to give her closing statement, the donors are able to see this. It's almost like they wrote it down this way. And she points out that she's angry that Bobby would try to hold the town hostage and leave if you don't give him what he wants. Corporations are not allowed to dictate what a city needs. That power belongs to the people. And Bobby Newport and his daddy would like you to think it belongs to them. And then she says, I love this town. And when you love something, you don't threaten it, you don't punish it, you fight for it, you take care of it, you put it first. As your city councilor, I'll make sure that no one takes advantage of Pawnee. And if I seem too passionate, it's because I care. If I come on strong, it's because I feel strongly. And if I push too hard, it's because things are moving not fast enough. This is my home. You are my family. And I promise you, I'm not going anywhere. And Bobby, holy bleep, Leslie, that was awesome.
And during that whole time, there's a montage of all of the people in all the different areas listening to the speech and just being like, really impacted by it and
Yeah.
appreciating it. And this is where we get the one shot of Jerry in a room holding hands with a bunch of nuns.
Yes.
Which I was just
They're like, Jerry's like, what can I do to help tonight? And they're
right,
like,
right.
just go to the convent.
Go, just pray, just be,
Yeah, and this is the most like West Wingy of the show so far. Like when you watch the debates on the West Wing, it cuts to all of the campaign staff and
Mhm.
all the different people who are like listening and people like on the edge of their seats. It's even like the did you see Newsroom, another Aaron
Oh,
Sorkin show?
absolutely, yeah,
So
fantastic.
when Harry Lloyd is giving his speech,
Yeah.
um and in the very first episode, and everybody's listening, like leaning into him talking about how broken the media is and politics in America. It's that kind of moment, and it's so well crafted. And then like just as you think this show is taking itself too seriously, Bobby speaks. Holy bleep, Leslie, that was awesome. And
Even he's blown away, it's great.
yeah, like man, Leslie would be really good at this job. And so
I hope she wins.
so it cuts to Andy like freaking out and like, yeah, play the song. And they play Catch Your Dreams, and Andy's all excited and he kicks the TV and calls out for Ron to fix that now because he broke it again. And then it cuts to the spin room, and Chris is talking about how one candidate is right for this town and one of them is not. And then Anne and Chris talk in between spin sessions, and she says, "Look, it's very flattering. I just don't think it's a good idea." And Chris like, "That's worth a thought. It's worth a shot." And I need to go run some stairs to work through these feelings. And Tom is happy that Chris is sad, even though Anne's like, "I don't know. I'm not getting back together with anyone right now." And so Tom's like, "I'll take it." And then he gets up to do spin the way only Tom can spin. And she's scrappy like a terrier, she's smooth like a blended whiskey. My girl has big ideas and big feelings that she's not afraid to express them. And yeah, and so Leslie and Ben are talking after the debate, and was like, was I too mean? And no, you're perfect. And Bobby comes up as they're talking and he's like, we did it. Oh, I was so nervous, but we completely got through it. I haven't felt this good since I scored that lacrosse goal at state. Seriously, hey, party at my dad's lake house, bring whoever you want. And then he like tries to leave and he gets lost. Like he has a moment of like, which way is the exit? And goes, and they're just like, what happened? What happened with Bobby? And then the credits, uh, we get Andy's actual telling of the Rambo story. Um,
He does a really good Rambo impression.
yeah, he does. And I think, I don't think Chris Pratt would tell you like he never watched any action movies growing up. And part of what I wonder too is how much of this was like his idea. Because it
Right.
seems like these are all the movies that he knows so well.
Absolutely.
More than just like this was in the script for me. Like it's like, no, this is Chris Pratt saying, I got 3 great movies I want to talk about. Roadhouse, Rambo, and Babe.
Surprised you
All
didn't
right.
throw like Point Break in there or something.
Yeah, that would have been even better. So
Chris Pratt would go on to play with Sylvester Stallone,
yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Guardian of the Galaxy 2, and Wichita Lineman was in the soundtrack for Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So this episode, so many jokes, and like a great little picture of some of the other characters of Pawnee that we don't really get to see very much of. Like I love more of Fester Trim.
Yeah.
Like that's just a excellent, excellent character. And yeah, I do love Eugene Pilogrimaldi. Every time I look at those words, like those aren't words.
He's like the most
um,
apathetic reporter. He's like, oh, I got to ask this question.
right? Yeah. It's like I'm working the local beat of debates, and he's like once every couple of years they pull out Eugene Pilogrimaldi and say you got to go to the spin room. And yeah, so great episode, super fun. Yeah, anything else that we need to cover from this one?
I don't think so. No, I think we got most everything. Next one coming up is continuing on the campaign trail bus tour.
Oh, that one is also very good.
Yep. And then win, lose, or draw after. So we got 2 more left of this season.
Oh man, it's gonna be good. Uh, the user reviews, 10 out of 10. One of the funniest episodes in television history. 3 times in this episode, I had to pause to catch my breath because I was laughing so hard. Paul Rudd is an American icon. And then the next one, 9 out of 10. Watching in 2021, it's too close for comfort.
Right?
I feel like I'm watching a Trump debate. I think Trump modeled his politics off Bobby Newport. So yeah, maybe. Uh,
Yeah, I think Trump watched like all NBC shows because if you watch like The Office and Parks and Rec, so many things that they bring up about politics and even Trump himself, he just
yeah,
plays right into.
right. And he probably looked as like, well, obviously, Paul Rudd is the most attractive person. He's the most like me. So I need to be more like Paul Rudd.
Yeah, I'm an attractive park.
Oh, oh man, the world, you guys, the world. It is a hot mess. I'm trying to find the one guy who rates him 1 all the time. Is he
There's only 2 reviews. So that guy
2
pieced out.
written out reviews?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So that
I don't.
that they pieced out on this one.
I'm positive the guy probably wrote it, and IMDb is silencing him.
He rage
He's
he just rage deleted it. He just too many feelings.
he's being shadow banned by IMDb.
He's been canceled by
Yeah.
big episode review. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, the bus tour is next. Excited for that. And then
Bus Tour has another appearance of a Burt Macklin situation, with Andy doing his investigative work. So I'm excited, and yeah, it'll be fun.
yep.
Yup. All right.
I'm running out of things to say about this episode. Yeah, it's a great episode. You know, it shows once again like, Leslie's ability to pull something out at the last second and how, unfortunately, like what we would really want to happen is that true, like you were saying, like real feelings and real like actual logical facts would win the day, but that's why we have these shows so we can live in this world here because it's not always what happens in the real world. So yeah,
Wow.
I thought I know way to break it down, but no, it's an amazingly funny episode.
Today on a very special Parks and Conversation. Sometimes the world's a disappointment. Watch more
watch
TV.
watch more TV. That's why it's there.
I think everybody can agree with you on that. So
Circus and bread, my friends. Circuses and bread.
I don't understand what that means.
That was like the whole Roman thing. Like the people to placate the people, you got to give them spectacle and food. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll see you next week.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.